Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here are some of today's top stories. Former President Trump appeals his gag order in the New York hush money trial. More from today's hearing. A new iPad ad is stirring up mixed reviews for showing what some say is Apple destroying emblems of human creativity. A home burglar allegedly took a shower and helped himself to some food before making off with the hundreds of dollars worth of items. First up, former President Trump is in court for another day of his New York trial. Here's what he said as he entered the courtroom this morning.
I just want to let you know that we've just filed a major motion in the appellate division concerning the absolutely unconstitutional gag order, where I'm essentially not allowed to talk to you about anything meaningful that's going on in the case, and many good things are going on with the case. It shouldn't have been filed.
Adult film actress Stormy Daniels was back on the witness stand today as she faced a cross-examination by defense attorneys. Trump's lawyers grilled her on her motives for accepting the so-called hush money. They questioned her credibility and claimed that she makes up phony stories about intimate encounters. The defense attorneys have focused on Daniels' financial motives by bringing up her book contract, her tour, and the merchandise she sells. Daniels denied asking for money from Trump, and she accused the defense attorneys for trying to trick her. Republican Senator Rick Scott was in a courtroom to support Trump. He said what's happening to Trump is wrong and that the case is election interference.
Now let's look at who's involved in doing this. The lead prosecutor was the number 3 person that the Biden Justice Department. The judge's daughter is a political operative and raises money for Democrats. You've got the lead prosecutor's wife is a significant donor to Democrats, and I think to Biden. So this is just a bunch of Democrats saying, we want to make sure that Donald Trump can't talk. You know, they've got a gag order.
A group of 25 states is suing the Biden administration's Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA. They're seeking to block a landmark rule requiring sweeping reduction in carbon emissions. The Biden administration finalized the EPA rules on April 25th as a part of its climate agenda. The rule mandates the new natural gas plants and existing coal-fired power plants reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by 90% by 2032. The requirements are expected to force the U.S. power industry to install billions of dollars worth of emission control technologies or shut down some of the facilities running on coal. West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey is spearheading the lawsuit. He says the regulations are done without congressional permission and exceed the agency's authority. The lawsuit comes a day after 23 states challenged a different EPA rule that limits the emission of mercury and other hazardous pollutants. The Biden administration is working on a report for Congress this week on whether Israel has violated international law during the war in Gaza. This comes as President Biden last night warned Israel that U.S. will cut off weapons supplies if Israel starts the major ground operation in Rafah.
It will not be transmitted today. We continue to work to finalize the report. We expect to deliver it in the very near future in the coming days.
Israel's ambassador to the United Nations called this, quote, a very disappointing decision, even frustrating. The country's defense minister said that we have no choice, we have no other country, we'll do whatever is necessary. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reposted an earlier speech in which he said, if Israel is forced to stand alone, Israel will stand alone. Israel's war and security cabinets will be meeting this evening. The tension comes as the Houthi terrorist group in Yemen said they launched 2 missile attacks in the Gulf of Aden and hit 2 container ships. The ships did not report any damage. 2 more incidents involving Boeing aircraft. A Boeing 737 plane carrying 85 people skidded off a runway in Senegal yesterday, injuring 10 people. The Air Senegal flight was operated by Transair. It was headed to neighboring Mali. It had around 80 passengers, 2 pilots, and 4 cabin crew on board. The injured are being treated at a hospital, while the others were taken to a hotel to rest. No other details were immediately available. Boeing did not respond to a request for comment. Also, another Boeing 737 jet's front tire burst upon landing at an airport in southern Turkey. It was flown by Turkey-based Corridon Airlines. There were no casualties. The Transport Ministry said the front landing gear was damaged. The jet was arriving from Cologne, Germany. 184 passengers and 6 crew members were evacuated. Experts say burst tires on landing are relatively common. They typically only require minor repairs, but they can trigger a search for tire debris or cause passenger evacuation. This incident comes just a day after a larger Boeing jet made an emergency landing at Turkey's Istanbul airport. That plane skidded on its nose down the runway. Turkish authorities are still investigating. An iPad commercial is stirring up controversy and getting publicity for a crushing new Apple ad. NTD's David Lamb hears from locals in Silicon Valley.
Well, the initial was a bit interesting, the crushing of the paint and the equipment, so that kind of caught me off guard. I didn't know really where it was going with that.
Musical instruments, paint jars, and a variety of creative items can be seen crushed by a machine in the new iPad commercial by Apple titled Crush. And at the end, the new iPad Pro is revealed underneath, and it's getting publicity.
iPad was able to withstand things that were trying to crush it, and I love Apple.
The takeaway I got was it was like compressing color and technology and art and bringing it all down into this small encompassed unit that can be leveraged.
The ad also received criticism, saying it could have done away with the crushing aspect.
It is a little distasteful, destroying all the stuff, like crushing all the everything that was in there.
Actor Hugh Grant stated, "It's the destruction of the human experience, courtesy of Silicon Valley." Filmmaker Ed Solomon wrote, "Who needs human life and everything that makes it worth living? Dive into this digital simulacrum and give us your soul. Sincerely, Apple."
People are going to complain no matter what. I don't think that has anything to do with the product, which I'm sure is going to be an excellent product.
Apple says it's the most powerful iPad and the slimmest Apple product ever, available on May 15th.
I think leveraging technology is awesome and cool, and the usability of it is better, but the acoustic nature of just like that human interaction of the live instrument, I think needs to be maintained.
NTD reached out but didn't receive a statement from Apple by deadline. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
A suspect allegedly took a shower and ate some food before making off with about $400 worth of items from a home in Tennessee. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
A Tennessee couple was surprised to come home to find evidence of someone rummaging through their house. One of the residents said she kind of freaked out when she saw that her bathtub was full of dirty water. The Memphis police released this surveillance footage of one of the suspects. According to the residents, the alleged thief kind of made themselves at home, grabbing a can of root beer and a piece of cheese from the fridge. They also said the thief went through their laundry and took some dirty clothes. The couple estimates about $400 of items were taken from the home, and now they say after this incident, they'll be taking extra safety precautions. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Newly released police footage captures the moments leading up to the death of a suspect who crashed the stolen Lamborghini at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. NTD's Christina Corona has more details on the story, and just a warning, the following video may be disturbing to watch.
The Los Angeles Police Department identified the suspect driver as Elliot Dugan, 51, following the incident on April 6th around 5 a.m. Officers initially observed Dugan asleep at the wheel of a Lamborghini Huracan stopped at a red light on Sherman Way at Reseda Boulevard in Los Angeles. Body and dash cam videos show officers pulling Dugan over, approaching his car to speak with him and request his ID.
Do you know why I pulled you over? Huh? The one you were asleep at the light. I was right next to you. I put my spotlight on you, man. You were asleep at the light. And do you have registration for the vehicle? Is the vehicle yours, sir? It's a what? A rental? Oh, okay.
Upon returning to his patrol car, the officer discovered that Dugan had multiple felony warrants and that the Lamborghini had been reported stolen.
I need to double check and verify things, but I need you out of the vehicle. It is stolen.
After being informed that the vehicle is stolen, Dugan denies it and then abruptly starts the engine, fleeing the scene. Video footage of the pursuit shows Dugan reaching speeds exceeding 110 miles per hour. Dugan crashes into a center median and several trees near the intersection of Vinalden Avenue and Sherman Way in Reseda. The impact of the collision was so severe that it split the Lamborghini into two large pieces. After a search, officers found Dugan's body several hundred feet away on the sidewalk in front of a nearby apartment building. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The fatal crash is still being investigated, and no additional information about the suspect or the stolen vehicle has been disclosed. Christina Corona, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. More California homeowners are losing their insurance. Find out what insurers and residents say the problem is. Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter is set to plead guilty to fraud for taking millions from the baseball player. A football player makes history. He is the first NFL player to switch sports and sign a professional basketball contract. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. Hundreds of thousands of California homeowners are losing their insurance as the state has seen more severe wildfires in recent years. Insurers say the decision is hard, but it will guarantee their survival.
Several major insurers have pulled out of California's homeowners insurance market. They say costs have increased with growing wildfire risk in the state. Carriers including Allstate, Farmers, and State Farm have either stopped issuing new policies in California or announced they would not renew existing policies in the state.
So I received a letter from my insurer, the same insurer that we've had since I bought this house in 1999, saying they were not going to renew our policy. They said we lived in a high fire area and they were not renewing it.
I hear a lot of discouraging stories. People saying their policies went up 700%. People saying they were dropped. You kind of hear a lot of bad stories, unfortunately. Frankly, it makes me nervous. At this point in time, I have a good policy and a fair price. I have no illusions that that'll hold true for the next year, 5 years, 10 years.
Can't sell it. Apparently now you can't sell houses because they can't get insurance. I mean, it's just a disaster that's, unfolding here.
In recent years, thousands of homes in California have been destroyed by wildfires. There's a new effort underway in the state legislature to try to fix the problem through a series of reforms that have put the insurance industry and consumer advocates at odds. California's elected insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, is attempting to overhaul home insurance regulations aimed at calming the state's imploding market by relaxing regulations and giving insurers more freedom to raise premiums.
The insurance market right now is in chaos, and part of it is in chaos is that for years insurers have not had adequate rates. In the last 10 years, they lost an average of paid $1.13 for every dollar they took in. So insurers need to get adequate rates. Then they can start reviewing the policies and the mitigation efforts that people take and price them appropriately.
In April, Allstate told Bloomberg that it will insure California homes again, as long as the state makes changes to make it easier for insurers to increase rates. In March, State Farm announced that it will not renew about 30,000 residential property insurance policies and will withdraw from offering 42,000 commercial apartment policies. They will take effect in July and August, respectively. The company says this is to, quote, ensure its long-term sustainability in California.
A former top executive for Las Vegas casinos is convicted of a bookmaking money laundering. The judge sentenced him to a year of probation.
A former top executive for major Las Vegas casinos was sentenced to a year of probation on Wednesday. He admitted he allowed an illegal bookmaker to gamble millions of dollars at the MGM Grand and pay off debts in cash. Scott Sabella pleaded guilty in January to violating federal anti-money laundering rules that required the casino to file reports of suspicious transactions. U.S. District Judge Dolly G. ordered him to pay a fine of $9,500 plus a $100 special assessment. G said Sabella turned a blind eye to behavior he knew was potentially illegal, but in deciding against prison time, G said she took into consideration that Sabella fully cooperated with investigators and had no previous criminal history. Before the sentencing, Sabella apologized to his family, friends, and former employers. He told the judge, quote, "You will never see me in your court again." The MGM Grand and nearby Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas previously settled a related case stemming from a U.S. Justice Department money laundering probe. The resorts agreed to pay a combined $7.45 million, submit to an external review, and step up their anti-money laundering compliance programs. In a written statement provided by his attorneys after Wednesday's sentencing, Sabella said he takes full responsibility for his actions and reiterated that he, quote, gained no benefit, neither personal, professional, or financial, from his crime. His sentencing comes as the Justice Department undertakes a wide-ranging investigation into illegal sports gambling operations in Southern California, laundering money through Las Vegas casinos. The most notable case involves Ipe Mizuhara, Los Angeles Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter. Federal prosecutors say Mizuhara transferred money he stole from the Japanese baseball star in a scheme to pay off debts to illegal bookmakers.
The ex-interpreter of Los Angeles Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani, has agreed to plead guilty to bank and tax fraud in a sports betting case. Prosecutors claim he stole almost $17 million from the baseball star to settle debts. NTD's Christina Corona provides more details on the story.
The U.S. Justice Department announced Ipe Mizuhara will plead guilty to 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count of subscribing to a false tax return. The bank fraud offense could lead to a maximum sentence of 30 years in federal prison, while the false tax return charge could result in up to 3 years in federal prison. As part of the plea deal, Mizuhara will have to reimburse Ohtani for an amount nearing $17 million and pay over $1 million to the IRS. However, those amounts could change prior to sentencing. Prosecutors said Mizuhara placed bets totaling $142 million, depositing winnings into his own account. According to federal prosecutors, Mizuhara began taking money from Ohtani's account in 2021 after helping him open it in 2018. He altered security details, so calls about wire transfers went to him, not Ohtani, impersonating Ohtani to the bank nearly 24 times. Mizuhara also confessed to falsifying his 2022 tax returns, underreporting his income by over $4 million. There was no evidence that Ohtani was involved in or aware of Mizuhara's gambling. Mizuhara's attorney, Michael G. Friedman, did not comment on the deal Wednesday. Prosecutors said Mizuhara will enter his guilty plea in the coming weeks and is set to be arraigned May 14th. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Shifting gears over to sports, Devin Funchess, once a standout in the NFL, is now making waves in professional basketball. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on the story.
Devin Funchess, once a familiar face on NFL fields, is now breaking ground in a different arena. The 29-year-old former wide receiver has signed with the Caribbean Storm Llaneros, marking his entry into professional basketball with the Professional Columbia Basketball League. But this move isn't just about sports, it's about honoring a promise made long ago to his grandfather, James Hester. Funchess pledged to win a Super Bowl, play pro basketball, and eventually become a farmer. Though he never hoisted the Lombardi Trophy, Funchess came close during his tenure with the Carolina Panthers. However, the COVID-19 pandemic forced him to rethink his priorities, putting family first. During this time, Funchess reignited his passion for the sport of basketball. With encouragement from his cousin and Auburn Tigers guard Aiden Holloway, he embraced the hardwood once again. Now Funchess looks ahead to tryouts with G League teams like the Ontario Clippers and the Greensboro Swarm. His goal? To bring his family along on his journey, sharing his dreams and successes with those closest to him. Cole Teal, GM of the Greensboro Swarm, applauds Funchess' determination, recognizing his leap into the Colombian League as a significant step towards greater opportunities. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. A new survey shows 4 in 5 U.S. biotech companies contract with Chinese firms. A look at Beijing's quest for Americans' DNA and lawmakers' concerns about bioweapons. More details coming tonight on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.